Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be taking you through 5 video interview tips that you can use to smash your video interview at any company. Following these tips has helped me secure offers from the likes of Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Accenture, HSBC, Legal & General and many more. And so I hope that by following these tips, you can do the same for yourself and land your next internship or graduate role. Let's start with a brief summary of what a video interview actually is before we go into the tips. So a video interview is usually the middle part of an application process. So generally speaking, the application process for internships and graduate jobs usually involves you submitting your online CV and cover letter. Once you pass that stage, you get to the online testing stage. If you pass that, you get to the next stage, which is the video interview. And then if you pass the video interview, you get to the final round, which is the assessment center stage, after which you get made the offer. So in this video, we'll be solely focusing on tips on how you can pass that video interview stage. And then I'll be making more separate videos on how you can pass some of the other stages. The video interview at most companies for internships and graduate roles usually involves some sort of pre-recorded questions which are played by the company, and then you're usually given about 30 to 60 seconds to prepare for the question, and then after this you're given 2 to 3 minutes to record your answer into the webcam, which is then saved and then submitted to the company. The questions are usually a mix of some competency questions, some technical questions, and then you have some standard questions like, why you applied to the company, why the specific role, and so on. Okay, so now that we have all of the basics covered of what a video interview is, let's get straight into the tips on how you can smash your video interview. The first tip is all about researching the company. So it's really important that you research the company and prepare for this video interview in the same way as you would if it was in person. So this involves researching into things like the company business model, so how they operate, how they make money, what countries they operate in, and more background knowledge about the company. After this, you may want to investigate the company values and how you align to them. After this, you might want to also investigate things like why you've applied to this particular company. Is it, their company business model you really like? Is it the fact that they do a lot of ESG things that appeal to you, and so on? And after this, you want to investigate exactly why you applied to this role in particular. So you need to demonstrate that you've consciously chosen to apply to this particular company and this particular role, and really back those reasons up with research to show exactly how enthusiastic and passionate you are about this company and this opportunity. The next tip is all about preparing notes. So because this is a video interview where basically the interviewer can't see your entire desk or everything on your laptop, it means that you can help yourself by having some small notes around you that will help you answer questions whenever you need them. So for example, you could prepare some bullet points on various questions that you think will come up, and then if they do come up and you get stuck trying to answer them, you can quickly refer to your notes and answer the question. Notes can also be physical or digital. So for example, you could have a Word document on your screen and kind of split screen your video interview interface and your Word document and make sure that you refer to your notes as needed. Or they can be physical. So for example, you could have some paper on your desk with some bullet points which will help you answer questions. Or you might have some post-it notes stuck on the corners of your laptops with, for example, key pieces of research that you got from, say, the annual report or the ESG report. And you can use those notes and research whenever you need to refer to them. However, just make sure that if you are using your notes, you're not referring to them all the time and you're not reading off of them. It's really important that, whenever you answer the questions, it seems like you're answering them in conversational style and that you're maintaining your eye contact with the assessor, because this is really important and it makes you seem a lot more confident and enthusiastic. So if you are using your notes, just make sure you're only referring to them quickly and, most of the time you're keeping eye contact with the screen. The third tip is all about maintaining eye contact and keeping a positive body language. So even though you're just speaking to a camera when you answer the questions, you need to try and imagine that you're speaking to a real person on the other end, because the reality is once you submit your video interview answers, they will be assessed by a real human from the company who will decide whether you've passed or failed the video interview. So whenever you're giving your answers, make sure that you keep as much eye contact as possible and don't try and rush your answers. So this means you should speak clearly and concisely so the person understands what you're saying and they can make notes as they do that, and make sure that you sound as enthusiastic and as passionate as possible to appeal to the assessors and to keep them engaged when they're listening to your answers. The fourth tip is to dress to impress. So even though this is a video interview and it's not in person, you should be wearing the exact same clothes in the video interview that you would be wearing if the interview was in person. So make sure that you're wearing formal attire, make sure it's formal business wear that you're wearing in the video interview. This is because first impressions matter and it's the first time that the assessors will be seeing a face on the profile that's applied, and therefore it's really important that you look the best and that you create the best impression that you possibly can create. So make sure that you wear formal business attire and don't wear anything, informal, for example. The fifth and final tip for video interviews is to make sure that you test the technology and test the environment. So the last thing that you want to do is fail your video interview before it's even began. And so before you start, make sure that you do some of the basic technology checks that you need to do. So for example, make sure you test your laptop camera to make sure that the picture is very clear. Make sure that you test your speaker sound to make sure that the sound is very crisp, and make sure that you test your internet connection to make sure that you don't lag out of the video interview, which would be an absolute nightmare. Finally, check that your background is clear and that you have no background noise. The last thing you want is, distractions in the background that will, one, distract you when you're answering questions, and two, distract the assessors when they're listening to your answers. And therefore, you want to make sure that you have no distractions in the background. Try and do your video interview in a quiet room with no distractions and noise, and make sure that you try and have as clear a background as possible so it's less distracting for the assessor when they're watching your video answers. That brings us to the end of the video. That was the top 5 tips that, really helped me to secure various different roles when I was applying to internships and graduate roles. I hope you found the tips useful, and if you did, please hit that like button for me. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.